Hello everyone, welcome to iNeedHunger.com. This is a code explanation video. Here in this video, we'll discuss about different Android user interface layouts. So basically, these are the four commonly used layouts. I'll call out these four layouts in this video. These are the linear layout, relative layout, grid view, and list view. So there's also a video explaining the demo of the application, so how the application works and all. So now let's jump into the code part and see how everything works. Before we go into the code part, if you notice click when I click anywhere on the screen, you can see a heart pop up with some animated things and all. This is as part of a Valentine's Day, which was last week. So just to tell you about it. So now jump into the so now let's jump into the code part. Yeah. This is the initial layout, how the application looks. We'll discuss about here linear layout with vertical orientation, linear layout with horizontal orientation, relative layout, grid view, and list view. This is the basic screen. This is the initial screen when the app opens, and then when we click on these buttons, its related activity will open and show with its related view, that is layout. So basically, we'll first in our XML file, these are located in, if you go to in this structure, if you select Android and in resources folder, there will be a layout directly in that main activities. This is something like our index file. So this is pretty simple. We'll just add a button. If you want, we can, these buttons can be added in two ways. You can directly write button here, so we can wrap content this one. We also wrap content this one. We'll give it some text. That will be the button name. We'll name it test button. That's pretty simple. You can see this here. You can also add button by dragging a button from its palette. You can see here list of available. We can drag and drop any of the widgets from here. So we'll search for button here. This will be in the commonly used items widgets. This will be in the widgets section, and we'll drag and just keep it below it here. That is very simple. You add a new button. You can add buttons in any of the way. If you want full control of what you're doing, you can, it's better to just drag a button and then manage what you want in this text view, in this text tab of the layout. So now I'll delete all this and I'll keep this rotation. So this layout is for main activity. This is our main activity file. So first, this is the activity which launches immediately after the app opens. You can also see these settings in the menu file. You can see this is the launcher activity. This main activity will be the launcher activity, and remaining all other activities are just initially declared here. One thing to note, if you use any activity, in our application, all those activities must be declared in this manifest file. So that is mandatory to declare all these activities here. And for the main activity, we it's categorized into launcher activity. So this main activity opens immediately after the app. This main activity launches immediately after the app opens. So in this main activity, we just initialize the buttons which we declared in our layout file. Initialize the buttons and use simple set on click listener event to this. What it does is this on click listener has a function called on click. Then so In this on click method, we just pass into we just move to another activity. For this for layout horizontal activity, this for vertical activity. So we can pass from one activity to another activity using intents. We discussed about intents, fragments, and activities in one of my previous posts. You can go find there. So what this start activity function does is it starts an activity and it takes an intent as a parameter, and this intent takes two parameters, which is the first parameter is the from which activity, and second parameter is to which activity. Simply transition from one activity to another activity. That is pretty straightforward. We have done this for all the buttons in our layout. So in this activities we just set the content view to some layout. This here it is linear layout horizontal, and here it will be linear layout vertical, and here it will be this layout file will be relative layout. So for this its layout file will be GirdView. We'll come here back and we'll show, and I will tell you what happens here in this GirdView and ListView too. These both are pretty similar. I'm going to get back and tell what's happening here. But for all other activities, pretty simple. We'll just set its content to some layout file. So now go to each layout file and see what's there in it. If you see the main layout file, you can see layout vertical, layout horizontal. So by default, the orientation of linear layout is horizontal. That means in this file, if you see this is the horizontal orientation by default. Linear layout sets its orientation to horizontal. We don't need to set it. And for vertical layout, we'll set its orientation to vertical, and we'll set this annual gravity to center, so these buttons appear to the center. So if we remove this, all the buttons pile to the top of the screen. So we'll set the layouts gravity to center, so all the three buttons appears in the center of the screen. Similarly for horizontal layout, actually we don't need this because the default orientation is horizontal. So I will remove this. Here also we set the layout gravity to center, so all the three buttons appear to the center. These are just three buttons. Pretty simple. I showed in the previous slide showed how to type these buttons, like either by writing it, either by typing it here, or by in the design view by dragging. So this is about the linear layout. So now if we go to the relative layout, here in this layout you can see these are some buttons, four buttons here. So we already discussed about linear layouts. So if you want to write this layout in design the same layout in linear layout, what you have to do is first declare the linear layout orientation to vertical, so we can have all this below each other. For this one, for the main text button, and for these two buttons, and this one, all this lies below each other. For that we need to set the main orientation to vertical, and then for these two buttons we have to nest another linear layout which its orientation to be horizontal, so that these two buttons appear side by side instead of appearing one below each other. So we have to nest a linear layout in another linear layout to achieve this type of layout in linear layouts. But here in relative layout we just used one parent layout, and all those are similar buttons which you have used. These are the four buttons. So how these buttons set up according to the how this, so we will see how these buttons arranged, how these buttons are arranged. So in this first button, this just will expand all. So in the first button, actually we don't need any of these things here, so we'll delete this and it will remain the same. because this is the first button. This ID is 9. So for this button, so for this for this button, what you have to do is, if you see here, we have an attribute called layout below. So layout below, and this is what this layout below does is, it has an attribute called layout below, and its ID is button 9, and this button 9 is the button which is above. This is the button. So what we have said is, align this button below this button, align this button below this button. So it arranges here, and we have some other parameters like align parent left and align parent start, which means the button should start from the left side of the screen. Similarly, we'll have for the other button, which is to the right side, we'll set its align parent right and then align parent and to true. Similarly, we have layout below attribute to this as well with the same button. So these two buttons are below this button. That's how these are arranged. And finally, this the last button is, we can say, just parent below. We can say just layout below button 11. We can say either button 11 or button 10. Both are the same. We will just change and see, these both these both are button 10 and 11. So if we change it to button 10 also, the arrangement of this button remains the same. So that's how this linear layout is designed. And if we go to now list view or grid view, just have one child element to it, that is list view. This is pretty simple. You can also drag and drop a list view from here. Drag a list view from the containers section. Yeah, this is the container section. You can drag a list view and place it here. So that comes to be like this, and we have used some center, vertical, and horizontal to be true, as in the previous cases for relative layout, and in linear layout we set its gravity to be center. So here for this list view to be center, we use this layout center and horizontal to be true. So now if you go to the list view activity file, we have a array which contains the version codes for all the recent Android versions, from starting from Cupcake to Nougat. So what we does is, after setting its layout file, we will just initialize the list view, this part, and then we will use an adapter to set items to the list view. Those items are retrieved from this array named version codes. So Android provides a default list view which is called simple list item 1. So we will use that list view and to display content from this version codes array. So what we do is, we will just use an array adapter. This is how we declare it. So this array adapter has three arguments. The first argument is the context of the application, that is, we can use this as a parameter for this. The second parameter is the layout for list view, and the third parameter is the data to be contained in the list view. We will just set the list view to this adapter. So we'll just use list view dot set adapter, and we'll use this adapter. This is pretty similar with GirdView. We will also have the same content, except we'll use the GirdView here. We will initialize the GirdView which we have declared in our layout file, and just set this adapter to the GirdView. You can see in the GirdView activity file. This is similar to ListView. Instead of ListView, we have a GirdView here. Here, something to note: this GirdView has various parameters. We have set the number of columns to autofit, and you can set column width. That's about the list views. So now application is everything done. We'll just run this application and see how it runs. So this is the application, how it looks. These are all the 5 buttons. This is the vertical linear layout. This is the horizontal linear layout. This is the relative layout which we discussed. This is the GirdView with all the version codes, and finally this is the ListView. This is how our basic application works. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. By the way, all the links related to this video, the original post which we have shown earlier, the GitHub repository of this project. I also will provide you this APK file. If by chance if anyone needs it, you can use it. All the links are in the description below. So please take a look at it. Stay tuned for more tutorials from AnodHunger.com.